Imagine this. You got 3 people here that were sitting in the same penitentiary for crimes they didn't commit. 3 different cases, 3 different men, 23, 16, 17.
This is a case that we've investigated relentlessly here at KCTV5.
I was illiterate to the law, so they took advantage of me. That's a predator.
30 states have victim compensation funds, but Kansas is not one of them.
A Kansas man is back home. Though Bledsoe is out, this story is not over.
There's stuff that'll never come back.
Until proven innocent, a KCTV5 News special report.
Good evening, I'm Brad Stevens.
And I'm Ellen McNamara.
3 men, all in Lansing prison, all wrongfully convicted.
Tonight, KCTV5 is taking a closer look at these 3 men's stories and how they ended up spending so much of their lives behind bars.
Here's investigative reporter Angie Racono.
This is Lansing Correctional Complex. It is the state's largest and oldest prison. More than 2,000 men are incarcerated here at any time. This was home to 3 men who took very different paths to get here, but they share something in common. They were all wrongly convicted.
Hey, what's up, man? How you doing, man?
How you doing? Good to see you, man.
We brought them together to discuss freedom.
It was getting that normal baseline to work my life from. And it's going to be hard, guys. It's going to be real hard.
Trying to stay focused, but it gets frustrating because it's like, sometimes I ask myself, like, what do these people really want?
I just wanted to be free. I just wanted to be out of that place, right? I'm so confused. I want to be alone and not be alone at the same time. I hear a clock in my head, where I feel like I done spent so much time in prison. Now I feel like I got to move and do something because I'll be 50 before long and then 60. That's why I just keep hearing numbers, right?
Until this moment, they had only known each other as inmates.
This man lived right across from me. Like, we lived in the same unit. We just stayed in different pods. We stayed right across from each other.
Yeah.
And we seen each other every day. Same time, same place, same thing every day. Every day. And now I'm sitting on the couch with Muggs.
That's how I feel right there. See, you can't explain that.
Can't explain it, man.
Muggs is Lamont McIntyre. The images of his first steps of freedom were shared nationwide.
How you doing, man? How everybody doing? Oh my God, how are you doing? I'm fine now, man. I'm good.
This video stunned fellow inmate Richard Jones.
It's good to see everybody.
Because McIntyre was so bitter in prison. Everyone knew him because he was the prison barber, nicknamed Muggs for that permanent scowl.
I seen genuine happiness in you, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, for the first time since I've known you, you know what I mean? So, like, I seen your teeth, bro. I had never seen your teeth before, bro.
Like, yo, I see your teeth. I know you had no teeth, yo.
I know you had no teeth, man. Straight up,
no
man.
doubt. I mean,
it's
nothing to smile. I wasn't happy, man. I wasn't happy at all. I always said I was innocent. I always felt like I was out of place. Like, man, I don't belong here. That's why I didn't smile a lot. That's why they nicknamed me Muggs in that place, because I didn't smile. I didn't, I feel like I have a reason to.
McIntyre spent 23 years in prison. Here's what he looked like at age 17 when he was convicted in a double homicide.
My late teens, all my 20s, and all my 30s was spent in prison.
This was a slapdash investigation. In fact, I don't even think the word investigation applies. There was no searching for any accomplice, for the getaway vehicle, for the weapon. There wasn't a single search warrant that was sought.
The defense team points out there is no physical evidence in this case tying McIntyre to the crimes. He has an alibi. It turns out he didn't even know the victims, so there is no motive.
You might think this is a case of sloppy police work, but the defense team says it's not that simple. Dig deeper and you'll find vendetta, corruption, and even sex abuse by law enforcement.
KCTV5 dug into the case file and revealed terrible allegations against a detective who worked the case, Roger Golubski.
Once I start getting more and more people saying the same thing, it starts being more credible.
Affidavits from multiple accusers outline a pattern of sexual extortion and a dirty cop who ran the streets of KCK.
Golubski was so powerful that I didn't think some of us would have felt comfortable saying no or turning down his request for sexual favors. When Golubski or any other officers came to the bottoms, we knew we had a choice of providing sexual services or getting arrested. If you did not provide what he wanted, oral sex, then he took you to jail. That was simply understood.
The allegations are backed up in sworn statements from retired law enforcement, including a former FBI agent who says he investigated Golubski, but blamed the blue code of silence. Lamont McIntyre's own mother was set to testify. She claims to be a victim of Golubski's sexual extortion, and she says she reported it to police.
If this is why my son got it, I don't know why they got it, but if this is why, that's evil. You don't hurt people like that.
The defense team points to the original police lineup as evidence of a grudge against Rosie McIntyre. It included Lamont McIntyre, his brother, and his cousin. 3 family members in one lineup. KCTV5 News reached out to former Detective Roger Golubski and his lawyer multiple times. Both declined to comment.
Today! Free Lamont! Today!
All the allegations of vendettas, sloppy police work, and unethical behavior by the prosecutor at the time recently went to court. The whole hearing dramatically ended when the current prosecutor cut it short and simply dropped the charges.
A jury, having known all the facts that we now know, I believe could have found reasonable doubt.
Look at this stuff. I thank you, Jesus. I thank you for this moment.
Lamont McIntyre was finally free after 23 years.
So I was illiterate to the law, so they took advantage of me. That's a predator to me, but who cares? They continue, they're doing this to somebody right now as we speak. Who cares?
The men sitting on this couch care because they all have their own outrageous story. Meet Richard Jones.
Doing time is already hard, you know what I'm saying? But when you doing time for something you didn't do, that's what make it even harder.
Jones did 17 years for a 1999 robbery he didn't commit. The Midwest Innocence Project says police traced the suspect back to this house, but didn't knock on the door. That suspect, Ricky, looks almost exactly like Richard Jones. Jones's legal team blamed fast police work.
That's what happened in this case and so many others. Nobody went and looked. Nobody knocked on the door. We know that Ricky got picked up at this house. No one knocked on the door. Not the police, not the defense attorney. No one went there and said, I'm going to believe this is what they said, this is where the person is, let's go see it.
If they had done that, this man named Ricky might have even answered the door. But it was a swift investigation, a quick conviction, a long sentence.
You know, I did half of my 20s and all of my 30s, you know, so it's like, you don't get that time back, you know, and it's like, and you have to accept that.
Which is easier said than done. Relationships are forever altered.
I felt like I lost time with my kids. You know, my kids was babies when I left. You know, now they're grown, 18, 22, and I got grandkids. I wasn't around to see my grandkids born. You know, I just lost a lot.
I guess it feels like maybe in a way that I've lost a daughter more than just a sister-in-law, I guess is the way you'd put it.
The year was 1999, and 14-year-old Camille Arfman was kidnapped, sexually assaulted, and murdered just north of Oskaloosa, Kansas. Her body was found under a pile of trash. Her devastated brother-in-law, Floyd Bledsoe, would later be convicted and sent to prison. But it was a mistake. DNA tests later revealed Floyd's brother, Tom, was the real killer. Tom had actually confessed to the murder shortly after the crime, but later changed his story and pinned it on Floyd. Then he gave damning testimony, which led to Floyd's wrongful conviction. Tom Bledsoe never went to prison because he took his own life. Floyd did almost 16 years.
12 jury members said that they made a mistake on my case. A 16-year mistake. There's stuff that'll never come back. You know, there's stuff that you'll never be able to do. You know, now my kids are like grown adults. They have their own lives. You know, they don't call me Dad. They call me Floyd. They call another man Dad.
Floyd is rebuilding his life. He's remarried and he has a young stepson. But he warns it's not always easy. Floyd recently applied for a job and his old record popped right up.
They ran a background check and it came back that I was still in prison in Lansing right today.
Here's the moment Bledsoe was freed.
I'm just glad this stays here.
What's the first thing you want to do?
Get out of the corner.
This was hope for McIntyre and Jones, two men still sitting in Lansing hoping they would be next. McIntyre was thrilled for justice, horrified with Bledsoe's new haircut. Remember, he was Muggs the barber.
I used to cut hair. I cut Floyd's hair. Not that horrible haircut everybody keep talking about. I'm never going to take credit for that.
There's nothing like that feeling of knowing that, you know, another person has made it out.
Floyd watched as Jones and McIntyre followed.
Never seen that coming.
Never seen it coming.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you couldn't tell me that, you know, we would be doing this right now. Like, you couldn't tell me I'll be out right now.
They are all 41 years old and starting over. The question is, what happens next?
So it's a bittersweet thing. It's not all good, like where it's like, I'm free, I'm good, thanks, I'm great. Now what?
Next on Until Proven Innocent.
I should never have to sit in prison for 23 years for a crime I didn't commit because you didn't want to follow the guidelines.
How things work in Kansas and why these men may never see justice.
You don't even know the court system is flawed until you or a family member goes through it.
And the justice system should be held accountable also.
If I take somebody and confine them to a room, it's kidnapping.
It's unacceptable. I put you like that, it's unacceptable. If it's unacceptable for me to go do something to somebody and commit a crime, then it's unacceptable for them, because like they said, it's kidnapping. They kidnap me.
That's how you feel. You're being held against your will.
How else can you describe being trapped in a prison, locked down day after day? For these three men, days stretched into weeks that turned into months. Years became decades inside this prison.
I just kind of stayed quiet, but that stuff, waking up in that place.
Those cells, man, they so small, man. You just, all you got is what you got. You know what I mean? Like, and if you ain't got no outside support, man, you in a situation.
Lansing is like most prisons. It's violent. Recently, it's been labeled dilapidated and understaffed. You don't just sit in prison, you survive and you change.
You transform into this person, man, that, you know, you can't show weakness, you know what I mean? You can't let them see you sweat.
Everybody always tells you, man, forget about that place, forget everything about it. But the thing of it is you can't forget about it.
Yeah.
You know, because that's part of who you are. You know, it's just as much a part of you now as your childhood is.
You come back to, you know what I'm saying, what you left from, but you're a different person. And a lot of people don't understand that. Like, you know, if you haven't been in that predicament, you know what I mean, then you really don't understand.
I'll catch up with everybody when I can, man.
It may sound strange, but freedom comes with a price. These men lost the biggest piece of their adult lives by leaving Lansing.
For me, those people in prison were who I had. Those people became my family for 16 years.
These people I'm close to. I'm here, I'm not close to people out here. I'm like I am with the people that I just left. Those are the people I built relationships with. I'm close to, that I've been fellowshipping with. These are the people that I built bonds and relationships with. And most of them got so much time that, I had to go back to see them somehow. All those people that still need help. I'm not saying everybody should, you should just go let everybody that's in prison out, but a lot of people that's there is just unjustly too. A lot of people there's been, their rights have been violated. So a lot of people there just need just some help, just a little support to get a wrong right. So I felt guilty for a minute.
These men share a similar perspective. Three men wrongly convicted who say they know they aren't alone. They point a critical finger at the system and people who put them there.
You don't even know the court system is flawed until you or a family member goes through it.
You're taking people's lives, you know, for shady investigations, shady witnesses, unreliable witnesses, and it's like prosecutors who feel like they have everything they need to convict you. But like in Kansas, like it's not that hard. I mean, and it might sound crazy, but it's not that hard to convict somebody in Kansas.
And they break the law to get a conviction. They'll do all kind of things to get a conviction. And I think that whatever prosecutor, whatever detective, whatever judge is not following those guidelines should be held accountable.
No doubt.
If not, this thing will continue to happen over and over again.
Over and over.
Here's what happens next when courts get it wrong. An apology, sort of. Lamont had one whispered in his ear. It wasn't public. The prosecutor in Jones's case labeled it a bizarre scenario. Floyd Bledsoe had a private one from several people, but nothing on the record. But they don't get a dime. Here's why. There is no compensation in Kansas unless you sue.
I think a lot of people are surprised that there's nothing for you. I mean, you guys are literally just, okay, goodbye. You get less than somebody
I think that's why Kansas do what they do, because they don't have to compensate anybody for anything that they do, you know?
Yeah.
So it's like, it's not a problem then.
Here's a look at the nationwide map. 30 states and the District of Columbia offer something. In Missouri, you qualify for $50 a day if and only if your innocence is proven by DNA. Iowa also offers $50 a day plus lost wages and attorney's fees. Nebraska caps that amount at $500,000. Kansas is nothing.
All three of us are 41 years old. We have zero retirement. Most people at 40 are looking forward to another 10, maybe 20 more years of retiring. We don't have that.
Bledsoe and the others are well aware of the financial problems they face. Richard Jones has been out for months.
Have you been able to find a job, or what do you plan on doing?
No, I haven't been able to find a job. I really honestly don't know what I want to do.
Money isn't their focus, it's justice. And the sad reality that it's doubtful anyone will be held responsible. You can't sue a prosecutor. They have full immunity against misconduct charges. According to the Midwest Innocence Project, only one prosecutor across the nation has ever been held accountable in a wrongful conviction, and that was just 10 days in jail.
I should never have to sit in prison for 23 years for a crime I didn't commit because you didn't want to follow the guidelines. That's what they're there for.
Exactly.
It's rules and laws in place to protect me, but they did not go by those rules and those laws to protect me at all. They used them against me, actually.
Lamont McIntyre's case sounds like something out of Hollywood. There are terrible allegations against the detective, but there's even more. People allege the prosecutor at that time pressured witnesses to stick with bad identifications and didn't tell the defense team some eyewitnesses said when they saw McIntyre in court, they realized he was too tall and his ears were too big. McIntyre's conviction was the focus of numerous KCTV5 news investigations because it was such a mess.
So imagine this, 3 different cases, 3 different men, 23, 16, 17, for crimes they didn't commit. In each one of those cases, the person who did it was still free.
In Richard Jones' case, he was floating around the same prison with a person his legal team says has stronger connections to the case. Jones says finding out his look-alike was a fellow prisoner made sense. There was confusion among prisoners. People kept spotting him all over the prison, almost like he had a clone. Jones's defense team blamed fast police work, and they say this police lineup was simply terrible.
Mr. Jones was the only person in the lineup of 6 photos who was light-skinned. He was the only one with a light background. Everybody else had a dark background in the photo. And so when the witnesses were looking at that, he was the only person in the lineup that matched the original description.
In Bledsoe's case, his brother framed him and lied. Tom cleared Floyd in a note. "I sent an innocent man to prison. The Jefferson County Police and County Attorney Jim Vanderbilt made me do it. I was told by Vanderbilt to keep my mouth shut. Now I am going to set things right." And then Tom killed himself in this parking lot. Bledsoe has filed a civil rights lawsuit.
What do you think of the justice system now?
There's a lot of flaws in the justice system. The justice system doesn't work. It don't. Our system is broke, you know, and it needs to be fixed.
And you got people in power will break the law. They will break the law and act as if the Constitution doesn't exist just to get a conviction. I think that's just immoral. I think it's wrong.
You got 3 people here that were sitting in the same penitentiary for crimes they didn't commit. If everyone else is held accountable for their actions, then the justice system should be held accountable also.
When we return,
From the moment they walked into my life, it was a blessing to me.
the lawyers who fight for justice
What they do, thank you is never enough.
and what it takes to free just one wrongfully convicted man from prison.
I know I wouldn't be right here if it wasn't for them.
That's what I'm talking about.
Oh, my Lord.
The truth set them free with the help of these lawyers.
What's the first thing you want to do?
Get out of the corner. What they do, thank you is never enough.
Do you think you'd be here?
No, it's just a blessing, man. Like I can't say that enough. Like I know I wouldn't be right here if it wasn't for them.
They didn't see me in my worst. When I say the worst, they didn't see me cry. They didn't see me hurt, and yet they comfort me. It was like consoling me and letting me know that we here. We here and we never gonna leave. We're not gonna stop until you out. That was their promise they made to me, and they kept it. And that's why I'm forever grateful.
It never stops and ceases to amaze me how much they really care about us on a day-to-day basis. They're the greatest people around.
And they still around. That's the crazy part about it. You know, like they not just, while we get you out, we're gonna get you out, and then, you know, no, they're there. You know, like they are the truth.
They family.
Grateful and overjoyed.
This legal family does it all. They buy clothes for these men.
Let's ride, buddy.
And support them when they leave prison. Kansas offers nothing, so this legal team makes sure they can start over. They help the men set up fundraising pages.
I just really appreciate them.
Here's a look at what it takes to right a wrong. Take McIntyre's case. It was backed by 2 Innocence Projects, Centurion Ministries and the Midwest Innocence Project. The average cost per Innocence case is $350,000, but Lamont's legal bill exceeded $500,000, and it took almost a decade. The Midwest Innocence Project also represented Richard Jones and Floyd Bledsoe. They team with other lawyers.
We're going to do the best job we can to get this done and get it solved.
Defense investigators hit the streets, and sometimes there's expensive lab work.
At certain moments in your life, darkest moments in your life, you know, God will send somebody your way to help you out.
Lamont McIntyre spoke with us while he was still in prison, well aware not everyone gets this chance.
To see a lot of people who needed the kind of help and didn't have it, yeah, it struck a chord with me because I feel like everybody should have the opportunity.
The Midwest Innocence Project represents prisoners in 5 states. They estimate there could be 7,000 innocent people in our area sitting in cells wrongly convicted. They can't represent everyone, and because the legal process is so long, they only take cases where prisoners have at least 7 years left.
Because we forget that we're working with people. It comes about crimes and not about who's actually in the system. You know, we get to work with the strongest people you'll ever meet in your life.
Hey, I'm good. It feels nice out here.
Strong and surprisingly not bitter.
Like people that don't even know me is reaching out to me.
Richard Jones discussed how the comments left on social media touched his heart.
I mean, that feels better than anything. Just people just, you know, let you know that, hey man, I'm sorry you went through that, you know, and I can't imagine, you know, but I'm glad you out here, you know. And so that goes a long way with me.
Is there anything else you want to add?
Our conversation ended with a surprise from Floyd.
Have a baby due in December.
What?
Yep. December.
He's busy.
December
Trying
20.
to get in, huh?
So,
Floyd ain't wasting no time.
Nope.
I just want to feel like I'm doing everything I can do to make myself feel good and have a quality life. Stop and smell the roses. Hashtag that. Hashtag that. Yeah.
And
Hashtag stop and smell the roses.
We want to thank you for joining us tonight.
The investigation continues online. Head to kctv5.com or download our mobile app. Good night.